like, okay, I'm gonna come back. You like tea? We'll have some tea. He's like, tea? We'll have some wine. I'm like, damn. And I interviewed a 101-year-old and she's like, I had a beer before wine came and I'm gonna have a cocktail when you leave. And I was like, well, why not with me? You know, why are you waiting both before I come and after I leave?
That's hilarious. All right, guys, we got William here, founder of Sprouhht. Thanks for joining us today, man.
Thank you for having me. Usually I'm on the other side. So.
I know. Is this the first for you?
No.
As a guest?
No. I'll come with you.
Which side do you prefer?
I prefer mine I prefer mine just because I'm used to it.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of people asking me questions. It's
Yeah.
always nice to have somebody asking you the question.
I'm the same. I prefer hosting. I think guesting is harder.
It's tough. I mean, especially when you don't know. Like, I ask really deep questions and some people do it as a joke to me and they'll flip it and I'm like, well, I love that. No.
Yeah, you ask deep ones, especially on the elderly interviews, right?
Of course.
Because you want to get deep on those.
I want to get deep with everyone, but it's harder to get deep with younger people, just like lack of experience and they're more worried about stuff. Elder people are very reflective, so it's easier.
Yeah, I feel like they're at the stage of their life where they're really thinking about how things played out, right?
It's pretty crazy. Like they come out with quotes or sound bites that people really get. Like if you look at my comments sometimes and you see like a big sound bite. And for me, I'm like, wow, I could never muster up those words, put them in one sentence and it sounds so poetic. But I think they probably spend a lot of time reflecting.
Yeah.
Probably after 60 or after 50 and they just know what to say.
That's a big part of my life, actually, not having regrets.
Okay.
Because I witnessed that with my families, my family members that got older, and I didn't want that.
What if I end up flipping this on you? I want to know more.
Well,
tell me.
Just like, I don't want to die with regrets. A lot of people say that, but like, it really is important for me. So I want to do what I can now.
But your family has regrets? Is that?
I saw with my dad, I think, who passed away. He never made amends with his parents. Toxic relationship, physically abused. So that was a big regret for him. You know?
Yeah.
Not making amends, I guess. I don't want any bad blood with anyone when I'm on my deathbed. I want everyone to be forgiven.
Right.
It's all good.
Yeah. I think people take, I mean, that's a crazy extreme circumstance there with whatever happened, but I think that's the vision, right? Everybody is sort of worried about, will I get to the end of my life and be happy and satisfied with the way I lived it and the way it played out? And a lot of people right now, I think the answer is no.
Agreed.
So it's good that you're doing it at this point and
that's the first step
of it.
Yeah, that awareness is the first step because some people don't turn on that awareness till they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s.
But that probably happened because of your dad passing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That made you hyper aware of maybe time or life.
I think the divorce too. They got divorced when I was in 4th grade. I was like, what is going on? You know, that's such a young age. You're impressionable.
Yeah.
So got some trauma for that for sure.
Right.
Yeah. But now that I talk to successful people, they got the most trauma out of everyone. It's actually insane. It's like a recipe for success. Have you seen that with your interviews too?
Yeah. I think bad times make hardworking people. Yeah. What I've understood. There are also people who have had good times that end up being hardworking.
Not as common though.
Not as common. It's interesting. It's interesting because people take it both ways. Yeah, you take a bad time, you let it get to you, and it just drives you into the ground. Or you take a bad time, you let it motivate you.
Yeah.
These successful people all seem to be fueled by this, and they almost like, from what I've learned, they kind of hate the world, so to speak. They're not mean people, and they don't actually hate people, but they use this motivation of having whatever bad stuff happened to them.
I agree.
It would be better.
Yeah. I think everyone goes through those pivotal moments. Like I can remember a couple in my life where I was like, wow, I could have easily went the other way there. You know?
Yeah.
I could have stayed in the life of degeneracy and partying and doing drugs and psychedelics. And I used to be a big stoner. I could have continued down that route for much longer.
Yeah. What stopped you from doing that?
Terrible anxiety combined with that just put me in the hospital a few times. Almost died actually.
Wow.
Yeah, I had a near-death experience. So then I was like, dude, no, I can't smoke weed anymore. I was really high when I was in the ER.
Oh, wow.
And now when I smoke, I get paranoid.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't had like my life has been good, to be honest. You know, if I describe my life, it's been really, really nice. But my bad moments were, you know, different than others. Like I think everyone has a bad moment, which is interesting because everyone has a different story. and it's not fair for me to.
Hey guys, shout out to today's sponsor, Kinsta. Running an online business is already a challenge. Your website hosting shouldn't make it harder, and I've been there, dealing with slow load times, confusing dashboards, and unreliable support. That's why I switched over to Kinsta, and it's been a game changer for my brand. Since moving to Kinsta, my site loads faster, runs smoother, and I don't have to stress about downtime. Their intuitive dashboard makes managing everything simple, and their 24/7 expert support means I always have real people whenever to help when I need it. Kinsta's built for performance with blazing fast speeds, enterprise-level security, and 37 global data centers to ensure your site reaches audiences quickly. They also handle free migrations, so switching is effortless, and if you ever get a traffic spike, Kinsta automatically scales to keep your site online when it matters most. I'm not the only one who trusts Kinsta. TripAdvisor, NASA, Indeed, and over 120,000 businesses rely on Kinsta for their WordPress hosting. So if you want hosting that works, just make the switch to Kinsta today. Get your first month free. They'll even handle the migration for you. Just visit kinsta.com/DSH to get started. That's KINSTA.com/DSH.
Honestly, it's not even fair for me to have said what I just said. Like, oh, mine's not as bad as other people's. But, you know, I lived like the good, normal life growing up. And when you live the good, normal life and you grow up in that part of society, you're expected to do what is normal. And so for me, being normal was working in a respectable job, going to a good school, like the typical like American dream path. Go to a good school, get a good job, work there, work your way up, all that. And I just got pressured into doing that for a very long time. And I hated it. I never liked the idea of doing that. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, run my own business, but that was what was expected and what was applauded. If you went the other way, you were not shunned, but almost shunned.
Yeah.
People thought down of you. So my bad time was kind of that. It was being forced to work in a job that I wasn't happy with, being in a relationship I wasn't happy with, and looking at myself in the mirror and asking myself, like, are you as good as you thought you would be at this point in life? You know, it's different than what you're saying, your moment. I think everyone listening will have a different moment as well. But that's the interesting thing I've learned about life, is that it doesn't matter how bad it is. Everybody goes through a low point, and it's a question of like, how are you going to deal with that?
Yeah, because bad is relative. It's perspective, right?
Yeah.
So everyone's bad can be different.
For sure. There's no way of comparing, like, it's my experience in my life, you know? So I can't tell you that I had it easier or I had it worse.
Yeah.
Just, that's what I had.
I had some of that too, since I'm half Asian, actually. You know, academics was super important.
Right.
And I never fit in with that.
Was it half important or?
Just never got that 4.0, man. I remember applying colleges. I lied about being Asian because I wouldn't have gotten in, dude.
Oh, interesting.
You know, because they base it off the race, which they should stop doing, by the way. But it's like, if you're Asian, you got to compete with the average Asian scores of the SATs and the GPA.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm Middle Eastern. Not the same story, but growing up, if you had the tab of like, what are you? Middle Eastern was never an option on the tab. So I always put like white. So recently, the last few years, I've been telling people like, yeah, us white people, like, are white people. And everyone's like, you're not white, bro. You're Middle Eastern. And I'm just realizing like, oh, wow. It's interesting how these constraints, they define you.
Yeah.
Like,
Very interesting.
I grew up believing like, I'm Caucasian, right? Because I got no place to put Middle Eastern on the tab.
Wow. And you start a petition for that.
I mean, there's enough of us.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. That's surprising. So you either got to do white or I guess other.
No, the other never works. Never works. Like,
Yeah.
it was just other, and they didn't ask you to specify. I didn't want to be other.
Yeah. Crazy times, man. But yeah, they just box us into these labels. I'm not a fan of that.
Everything in life, everything's a box, everything's a label. You have to figure out in life that there are no boxes and there are no labels. That's the hardest part, I think.
Super hard. Took me a while, actually. I was in public school, which is a box, right? I think it is, at least.
The whole thing is a box.
Yeah, I was living in public school and then college. Probably
College is a box.
Yeah, I didn't really start questioning it until college.
Your job is a box. This is a box.
We are literally
a box
right now. Yeah, this is the box too.
This is literally a box. You go on social media though, and you think you're like doing stuff to be free. Then you realize there's a box. There's an algorithm. There's a respectable way to post or not to post. There's a way to get views or not to get views. I mean, everything's a box. So it's kind of up to us to figure out the fact that there aren't actually boxes, just do what you want to do. That's the hard part.
Wow. That's like living off the grid type stuff.
Not really. I mean, I don't want to take this like make it super deep, but like living off the grid of what's expected, you know, not literally living off the grid, like a middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But just, you know, there's no right way to live life.
Agreed.
I grew up thinking, like, back to my story, that if I worked at the bank and I worked in this job and I made this much money, then that was how I should have lived. That was the right way to live. But then you realize, like, you travel, for example, and you realize that no, people don't think that. Like that way I was taught to go to this good school and get this specific job and work in this job. I mean, those people in Thailand and in Japan, or maybe not Japan, but in Thailand and whatnot, they don't think that. They don't feel that. They weren't told to do that. So if everybody's being told to do something a different way, is there even a right way?
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Because you're right. The US is definitely capitalistic, right? They teach us to make money, become a doctor, lawyer, typical high paying jobs. But in other countries, they're not teaching their citizens that.
Well, and then exactly. And the stress comes from that. It's like, oh my God, I'm 25, I'm 27. I haven't done this. I'm not making this much money. I haven't achieved all these kinds of things. And then if you actually branch out, you realize it's just a path that marketers are telling you. It's like keto diet. It's like the carnivore diet. It's like any diet. I mean, it's like anything. Should I be working out just my upper body, my full body, just arms, bodybuilding, CrossFit?
Yeah.
If you actually think about it, and then I'll like make everybody listening be like, oh no. But it's just a matter of picking what you feel is best, you know? And people have a hard time picking what is best. They don't know how to choose for themselves. They don't know who they are.
Why do you think that is? You think it's programming, or?
Just not taking the time to learn about yourself. Programming is part of it. You know, we are being programmed, which is good for the programmers.
Right.
That's how it works. But we aren't learning how to think for ourselves. When I was in university, we kept getting emails every week about like opportunities for working at investment banks. And I was like, oh, wow, this is so cool how my university is setting us up with these big investment banks in the US. And we're getting exclusive networking opportunities. Like, wow, I really picked the right university. And then when I left, I thought about it and I learned that it's partnerships. So the investment bank and the university have a partnership. We pay you, you give us networking opportunities so we can get closer to your students, we can hire them.
Interesting.
So then I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'm just part of the game. I'm just a piece of the game. I'm just a pawn. And if they had taught us in university to think about who we are and what we want for ourselves, most people would not have wanted to go to that, you know? But we were taught that we should be going down this specific path, and then we were pushed down that path. Like I remember my teachers were like, I will grade you better if you get an investment banking job. And I was like, that can't be legal, but that's what it was. And that's how it went.
That's nuts, man.
Yeah.
So I know you've traveled a lot. Have you seen this way of thinking in other areas, or is this something you kind of came up with on your own?
The way of learning about yourself and everything.
Yeah.
That's
You've been over 40 countries, right?
Yeah, more or less. I think 40 actually is the number, but it's different everywhere. I mean, thinking about who you are and what you want, I think most people don't know that regardless. I don't think most people think about it. You obviously go to places that are more introspective, but I've interviewed the Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
I've been to the Dalai Lama's monastery. I've interviewed monks, and you would say monks are probably the most introspective people. I would still say that monks deal with their own stuff, you know? And yes, they learn how to deal with themselves quite well and their emotions, but in other aspects of life, they don't experience certain things. So I think everybody is kind of missing a piece, but the most important is, who am I? What do I want? You know, like, can I journal about that? Can I think about that? Can I sit down with myself alone? Whereas, you know, if I get alone time, not me, but anybody, they'll just scroll on their phone, and you're always occupied.
Mindlessly scrolling out.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've traveled a lot. What I've learned from traveling is what I said before, that there is no right way of thinking. It doesn't mean that people know how to think anywhere. I think just generally there's a problem with that. So that's kind of why I do what I do. That's how I started my brand, because I kept seeing so many good people I grew up with, people I really liked, that I think have amazing potential, but they got sucked into their path. The path that they didn't want to. and they never left. Like,
Wow.
it's been 5 years maybe 6 years since I left my job. And
you had a 6-figure job, right?
Yeah.
So you were set for life. You just stayed in that.
Yeah, I guess so. I always think about it now, and I think like, are you really? I just question everything. Questioning everything is something I do quite often, but
Yeah, because you could have, there's a million things could have happened, I guess.
well, if you're working a job and all you know is the technical skills of your job.
Yeah.
If AI replaces you, if something happens and your whole department gets fired, and then you have no job, you have no skills in life other than what you've been doing, crunching numbers for 6 years. So, was I set for life? Maybe financially, yeah. Like maybe I'm making a good amount of money, but I think from everything else, probably not. But I might not have realized it. So maybe. Yeah.
Do you believe everything happens for a reason?
Yeah, for sure.
You were meant to leave that job for a reason.
I think so.
Now look at what you're doing.
I remember my friends told me in high school I was going to be a motivational speaker.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Most likely to be a motivational speaker. And I just went the opposite way for quite a few years. And then when I came back down this path, I was like, I thought about it last year. I'm like, I guess I'm a motivational speaker.
You are,
right?
You are. You're interviewing people that are motivating people.
Yeah.
So in a way you are, right?
Yeah. So I think everything does happen for a reason. There's so many instances in life where you wonder, like, how could that have possibly happened? But the takeaway from that was important. You just got to be willing to, when it happens, you got to be willing to actually take advantage of it and recognize that things happen for a reason.
Yeah. Does your thought process, your way of thinking interfere with religion at all?
I don't think so. Does it interfere with religion? In what way?
Just a lot of people follow these rules of religion, whether it's the Bible, the Quran, whatever. And that in a way is not a form of free thinking. You know what I mean? So you find that clashes with your philosophy.
I don't think so. You can be from, like, especially our audience is really diverse. They come from all over the world to practice all religions. Mine is just understanding what you want. You could be any religion, but are you fulfilled? I'm not telling you that there's like, this is the exact way to live. I'm not your guru, but I'm just giving you the freedom of understanding mentally. Think about yourself a little bit more. Think about what you want. Think about why you're here, why you're doing what you want to do. Think about what makes you happier. And it's different in all religions. I can't speak to the religions that I'm not, because I don't know how they operate, but I've never heard any pushback. I've never heard anyone say like, I'm Muslim and I don't agree with what you're saying.
That's cool.
Yeah. We try to build a very positive space too. So I'm not sure, like maybe.
Yeah, I guess you're providing the framework. So it's not really a conflict.
Yeah. Cause I don't like the idea of telling somebody that this is exactly what you need to do. I would rather you tell me what is bothering you and I tell you if I can help you. And then I'm cool with it. Then like, let me guide you.
Right.
But if you didn't come to me sharing what you struggle and I didn't align with that, I don't feel comfortable telling you that I have the right path for you, because I'm so mad at other people for having done it to me, telling me that this was the right path. I don't want to tell people what the right path is. I want them to figure out what the right path is. That's what Sprouhht is all about.
Yeah. So you said you were mad. Do you still have that resentment towards those people that told you to go down a certain path?
No.
You forgave?
Fun. Yeah, it's fun. No, it's okay.
Yeah, same with me. I had some bad advice for sure growing up. And I used to hate on them, but it's not healthy to do that over time.
How can you be mad though, to be honest? Like if you think about it, it's not like they know better. Yeah. They don't know better. It's okay. They're operating under what they know. And you have to respect that. It's like when people get mad at their parents and say like, oh, my parents were so strict on me growing up. And my sister has had that.
I had that. Yeah. No, I had it with my mother. I was referencing her. We used to clash heads a lot.
Are you an only child?
Only child, yeah.
Okay, so I'm middle of 3, and my sister is always like, oh, the first child always has it the hardest, and my mom and dad were so hard on me and this and that. And I'm like, it's not like they knew what they were doing, They had never been a parent before. They're 2 adults that decided to have a kid, and they're figuring it out. So whatever they did to you was, they love you so much, but they didn't know what they were doing. And I take it that way with everybody. It's like they don't know what they're doing. They're not telling me this because they know me and they know what's best and their experience and whatever. They're just operating under their set of beliefs. So how can you be mad at that?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not good to have resentment. Like you said, you don't want to have regrets. Like, I don't think you want to have resentment either.
It's the same for me, yeah. Now she watches every episode. Shout out to my mom. We're super close now. But man, we used to butt heads every day.
I say something nice to her.
Mom, I love you. So the crazy part about this is I didn't tell my mom I loved her until I was probably 20 something,
Wow.
25.
Okay.
That's and the first time, yeah, not long ago. And the first time I said it, it like felt so uncomfortable. I was like, I had to like jump around and like, you know, but now I say it every time I call her.
Yeah.
But I had to get over that. Same with my dad, dude. When I moved to LA from Jersey, he gave me a hug and it was like the first time ever.
How did that feel?
Dude, insane. I was holding back tears.
Yeah.
He was crying.
Yeah.
I was holding back, trying to look tough, you know?
Yeah.
I wish I just let it loose at that moment, but that was special to me.
Yeah.
I never got that physical love as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's something that I'm very grateful for from my life. I always got that. My parents always like say like 5-10 times, but I'm also Middle Eastern. So like it's, I think it's more in our nature to be expressive. But I always got it. And I think that was a big cheat code for me. Like I started this brand with no experience, being introverted, never made a video in my life. Everyone thought I was an idiot. Everyone was talking down about me when I started. Like I said, I brushed off being a financial analyst, investment banker. So everyone thought I was stupid. The only way for me to be able to do this and get it to where it is now is out of self-confidence. And I would say it all came from my parents.
wow.
Just being super loving, super sweet. Like, I think if somebody tells you something enough, you believe it, right? So if someone says to you that you're not good enough, eventually you'll believe it. But if someone says that you're good enough, you'll also believe it. So you just believe what you hear a lot. And my parents growing up always said that I'm good enough, that I can do it, that they believe in me, and that I should believe in myself. So I was like, wow, if I go down this path, I think I can do it. You know, there's no proof that I can do it. So there's no proof that I can't. And my parents taught me to believe that I should go with the second one. No proof that you can't do it.
I love it.
Yeah. So I'm happy that, yeah, they at the beginning, there was like a little pushback because it's, again, Middle Eastern. So parents are like you said, half Asian is still traditional with everything. But they trusted me. They saw that I was passionate about what I was doing. And they're like, all right, we believe in him. We think he's going to do it. So we'll see what happens.
I love it, man. Did it take off right away or did it take some time?
No, took 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess it's all relative by when I say take off, I mean just generate revenue, I guess.
I mean, generating revenue, I was doing like little gigs to get by. So I was like a freelance writer. I would do videos for more corporate stuff so that I could make a bit of money. But no, I made videos for 3 years that never got any views.
Wow.
It took me 3 years to go from 0 to 20K on YouTube. It took me 2 months to go from 20K to 200K.
Holy crap.
And it took me 2 years to go from 100 to 1 million.
Damn.
Yeah.
So it's like exponential growth at the end.
Yeah. When it hit, which is when I started interviewing. I wasn't interviewing for 5 years. I was interviewing, like, you've been doing it for 2 years.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for 2 years as well.
Oh, got it.
And let me see, we both found it at the same time.
Yeah. Because you can leverage their audience to grow. Because people are searching for the people you're interviewing.
But that was not how I did it, though, because I've interviewed strangers. I interview people on the street. I mean, now we interview some more notable people. That's, I would say, the last 6 months. But I've interviewed 1,200 people on the streets of 35 different countries. These are random people that you'll never hear from. You don't know their names. You don't know anything about them except their age and what they look like. And I thought it was cool because these are topics I was researching on Reddit before I go to bed when I was mad in my job and in my relationship and I was unsatisfied with my life. And then eventually, after all this content I made that didn't work, I was like, what if I bring all of my interests to life? And I actually ask the questions that I've been looking up because partially it's selfish. Like, I want the answer.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I believe the world needs this. And this aligns with the message I'm trying to spread. So I've been talking to strangers. So honestly, my stuff is not like, I didn't interview a notable guest and then their audience came to mind. It was the first interview I ever did blew up. So I can't really say exactly what I did, but we just made a lot of valuable stuff.
Wow. The first one, huh?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's what happened to me too.
The first one?
First one blew up. Much different industry.
What was your first one?
You really want to know? So it was it was a female barber. She sits on you while she cuts your hair, and she has a fat ass. So like, we angled the camera at like her back, and I was interviewing her while she cut my friend's hair.
Was she sitting on you?
She was sitting on my friend. I have a fiance, so hell no, she was not on that. But yeah, it got like 20 million views on TikTok.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was my first one.
Were your videos doing well before?
No, that was my first video on TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the good thing about social media these days. If you got good content, you don't need followers. Like Instagram with their new trials feature, you could go viral without followers. So
yeah, I mean, I think people are just so stuck up in the whole algorithm and making what pleases the algorithm thing. Like what you did is just good content. Like it's interesting.
yeah,
Like when would you ever see that? So
no one's ever done it. Yeah.
no one's ever done it. Exactly. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, I've been making videos for 3 years that people have seen before. What if I just do what I want to do and I make it the way I think the world needs it? And no one had ever seen that before. I mean, I don't know, but there's nobody who's interviewed strangers on the street asking about advice, especially older people.
I think you basically, do you remember Humans in New York, that Instagram page? You basically took that, but made it like in video format and better.
And that was a vision.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that it resonated in that regard.
Yeah, because I remember that page. That page used to get a lot of views. I don't know if it still does, but it was really interesting to read those stories.
I don't know if he posts that much, but I mean, yeah, when photos were a big thing, he was the thing.
And that's the thing. You got to adapt to the times. Now it's content like short form and long form for you.
But I think he didn't, I mean, it's hard.
He could have built a brand on that.
He could have switched to video right away. And he could have been the biggest one.
Did he never switch to video?
I don't think so.
Wow, that's a missed out.
I don't want to like speak on. I don't think so, but I've seen a lot of photos from them. But
okay. And there's that one YouTube interview series that's in black and white. Do you know what I'm talking about? The thumbnail is always a black and white image.
Soft white underbone.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
That one's amazing.
Yeah, they take the craziest stories.
His story is crazy as well. I forget his name.
I don't know his name,
the founder, but I think he used to work at Apple.
Oh, really?
And as a designer or creative director, something like that. Might be misspeaking, but his story is interesting. Just it's weird how people get into these things. I mean, we all have a story.
Yeah.
The interviewer is an interesting character that I've learned as being an interviewer. It's like we learn a lot about other people from you and me, but how often do we learn about the person actually speaking?
That's true.
It's like, what motivated you to go into this job? What motivated you to ask this person questions? Like, why did you bring me? Why did you bring your other guests? That like shapes your personality. Like I'm learning a lot about you, and I don't know how often you share the stories that you've shared so far, but
not too often.
Yeah, anybody listening gets to bit by bit piece that with you, but it's also because I'm like in the same kind of headspace.
Yeah.
I want to ask you questions. I want people to learn about you as well. I want to learn about you.
I do that when I go on as a guest too. It's a bad habit of mine. The host probably hate it too.
The host is like,
but I don't mind. But on my show, I try to do an 80-20 rule.
Okay.
So I try to have the guest have 80% of the time.
That's good.
Yeah. Because I want the spotlight to be on the guest.
It's nice that you take 20 though.
20's not bad, man. When you're doing 5 a day, that's 100. You know, I'll take it. Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk about, dude, some of your interviews you interviewed 102-year-old? Was that the oldest one?
103.
103.
Yeah.
What was that like?
That is interesting. We've interviewed 2, one that I haven't released yet, one that I have. The one you're talking about is Gladys, and she passed away.
So bless
her. Yeah, bless her. We probably were the last interview I think she did.
Wow.
I'm not mistaken. 103-year-olds are interesting because like you're way past the age that you should have lived. Way past. So you're not like, oh my God, I'm 93, like I'm alive. Your
average age
103.
That's like 30 years past average age.
Yeah, I think US is 81, maybe.
Oh, is it? I thought it was less.
Maybe Canada's 81.
Okay. I thought US male was 71 and US female was 75.
No,
higher. But I could be off.
Higher.
We'll have to have someone fact check.
Yeah, higher. We're too developed for 71. It's not.
Well, that's a whole nother podcast. We can debate on that. Yeah, the Western medical system.
Yeah. No, but I think it's higher. She is interesting. The most positive person I've interviewed, probably.
Wow.
I think when you get to like Gladys was amazing because she was with it. She was doing podcasts. She was knitting. Like she had a purpose. She had written a book at 93, I think.
Dang.
And she has seen so much. Like you're talking to people, and the other 103-year-old I interviewed that we haven't released yet it'll probably be out by the time that we talk about this and this is released, but he's a World War II veteran. He's British. He was a soldier. At 18, he was captured by the Japanese, and he was a prisoner of war for 4 years.
Holy crap.
If you think about being drafted into the army at 18, you have to be 103 years old right now to be alive.
Wow. So he might be the last survivor.
Yeah. How many more people are you going to get that are surviving? So like the most interesting thing for me is these two people. I asked the question, what were you doing at the end of World War II? Like, I think of how insane that is. Like, it's a personal question. Like I'm sitting across from somebody.
Yeah.
What were you doing on the day that World War II ended? And they know.
Wow.
They remembered. They know exactly where they were. So for me, it's very purposeful because you're uncovering a part of history from a personal experience, not from a book, but from somebody's actual memory. And that's why I loved it, you know, and among everything else, like they were also the most positive people. Like the 103-year-old World War II veteran was, he's like, I got so many photos, like I got to show you these later. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to come back. You like tea? We'll have some tea. He's like, tea? We'll have some wine. I'm like, damn. And I interviewed a 101-year-old and she's like, I had a beer before I came and I'm going to have a cocktail when you leave. And I was like, well, why not with me? You know, why are you waiting both before I come and after I leave?
That's hilarious.
So the interesting thing about them is they're just there. And from an interview standpoint, it's the easiest thing because they're just there. It's not like I have an agenda, promote my book, promote my movie. Like, yo, like I got to make sure my hair looks good. They're just like, sure, what do you want to talk about?
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Has your view of death changed from interviewing these elderly people?
I still don't want to die.
I definitely don't want to die. I used to fear death even as a young kid. Like really fear death.
I got that as well. My grandfather passed when I was young. My dad almost died a few times when I was young. So those were like, that's probably honestly why I'm how I am at this point. I'm 25, so everyone thinks I'm like 40.
Is that good or bad?
40 is bad. I mean, you know, 29 is...
I feel like as a woman, that'd be bad, but as a man, it's a compliment.
40 though? I'm 25. Like 40 is crazy. Like,
but to me, I interpret it as you're wise. Like if they're calling you 40, like...
I don't know. I'll take wise at 33.
Oh my God.
Wise at 30.
Fair. There is a...
40? Oh, like,
yeah, 40.
Come on.
Yeah.
Seriously? Like, I got 2 kids at 40 or something. Got a mortgage. It's like, no. But has my view on death changed? No, honestly.
Really?
Kind of the same.
Oh, wow.
Life has always been finite for me, and it's just more finite the more I interview older people. The one thing I've learned is that I feel like life is longer than it is. I used to think like, oh, I'm young, because you know everyone says, oh, when you're in your 20s you got to seize, because when you get older it doesn't work as well and like all this.
Yeah.
But the more older people I interview, the more I'm like, God, it works perfectly fine. Like these people are their bodies, some of them, they didn't take care of themselves, so their bodies aren't physically as good as it used to be.
Right.
But mentally, every old person that's happy that I speak to is like, I feel like I'm your age. Like I feel like I'm 25, you know? I'm just trapped in this like post-menopausal, like this. I was talking to a 71-year-old today. She's like, I feel like I'm your age, but I'm trapped in a post-menopausal woman's body. I was like, that's interesting. Yeah. So if I just take care of myself, if I take care of my health, if I live well, my mind won't change.
Right.
I still feel young, and hopefully I'll be able to live longer. But from a death standpoint, I don't think it's changed that much.
So you're still fearful of it, or what's the word you would put to it?
I would say fearful. I would say. Like I'm not at the point where I'm ready. I think as you get older, you're like, you accomplish things and you're more comfortable with it. Like you have more time to think about it. Like you and me you're in your 20s.
Yeah, 28 on Friday.
I thought you're 40. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But it must be all the wise years of interview.
Asian.
I thought that, as you get older, you have more time to think about it. And I feel at that point the answer will change. But right now I'm like, man, I got a whole list of things I want to do. Yeah, I'm afraid. I don't want to die. I don't want to jeopardize that. Like I got to enjoy so much more about life.
I'm with you. I wouldn't say I'm afraid of it, but I definitely don't want it, if that makes sense. I don't want to go yet.
What is the difference between being afraid
I think
of it?
afraid is like you're fearful of it. Like it's like an emotional thing almost. Like you feel fear towards it, like actively.
I mean, there's no active fear, I guess. Maybe I'll try.
Or not active. No, that was a bad description. I don't know. It's hard to explain what I'm thinking right now. But when my father passed, that really taught me to like be more present. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Because he was 62, which I felt like was young.
Yeah.
I feel like I thought I had more time than I did with him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I saw some crazy stat. When you move out of your house after college, have you seen this chart?
Wait, but why?
Yeah.
The tail end.
Nuts.
Man, I almost put that in my room, but then I was like, that's so depressing.
Yeah.
I think you put like the amount of times you eat dumplings or something.
There's another one. It's like, how many weeks do you have to live? And it's like, you're already like here and the average is here.
Did you take that math?
I didn't want that one because it's like a reminder of like where you're at.
That's too finite. Like,
Yeah.
That's like, whoa, I can actually see how many years I have left.
Yeah.
But the amount of Super Bowls, I think what you're saying is you've lived 93% of your time with your family by the time you turn 18.
Yeah. So you only see them like, I think they said under 100 times before they pass away.
That blows my mind. And that's why, that's like, I mean, my background on my phone is my parents on their wedding day. So like,
I love
I
that.
put that, they're both healthy and alive, but like I put that so that every time I look at my phone, I think of them, which prompts me to want to call them, which prompts me to want to see them. And so I make it a big point. Even when I have this career where I travel all the time, I'm like, I got to go home and see my parents.
Yeah.
And my siblings, my friends and everything. But like, I want to see my parents. So I try to balance that out. And I think having like little reminders and cues, like your parents on your background, your screensaver makes a big difference.
Yeah. It's important, man. But yeah, my dad would always tell me growing up, I vividly remember this, I only want to live to 60. And I used to always be like, no, Dad, please, I want you to live to 80 or 100 or whatever.
And it happened.
And I think I believe in manifestation, dude.
Wow.
I think you can speak stuff into existence.
Yeah.
And I saw that with him. Because he was pretty healthy. It's not like he just dropped from being too unhealthy.
Right.
You know?
Wow. Yeah.
So you got to be careful with what you speak into existence.
Yeah. My dad says something there too, but it goes back and forth. Sometimes he's like, yep, I'm good. And then other times he's like, nope, I'm not good. I don't want to go. I'm like, you got to pick one. You got to pick one.
Gotta be careful with that, man.
I'm like, I want to live to 100.
100.
I wanted the letter from the queen. Now it's the king. It's going to be a king for a while. It's not as exciting. The letter from the queen is...
You got a letter at 100?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that
a
was...
Commonwealth country.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So as a Canadian, I would get one. But I don't know if I want one from the king. So now I'm like rethinking things.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Well, health is advancing so quick. 100 would not surprise me in the future.
I think we can all get there.
Yeah.
You got to take care of yourself.
You got to take care of yourself. But you want good years. A lot of people are focused on the number, but have you heard of health span versus lifespan?
I have, but explain.
So basically lifespan is like you live 100 years, but health span is like how many of those years were healthy years.
Oh, right.
So like a lot of people live to 80, but only like their last 10, 15 years were like really bad and they were in a wheelchair or something.
Yeah. Have you ever looked at the blue zones?
Yes.
The blue zones in Italy, I think, came to a conclusion that you die 4 years earlier if you live in a retirement home, or basically to re-say that you live 4 years less if you live in a retirement home. And that's the norm here. You get old, you can't figure it out, retirement home. And that's like, let's take everything away from you in life that makes you happy, put you in a home with a bunch of other people who are old and hate their lives as well, and let's just leave you there.
Yeah.
That sounds horrible. If you go to if you go to Japan, I love Japan. I've been quite a few times, and it's old people are everywhere. People in their 80s, 90s, like doing fully functioning human things, driving, everything. And those are people that are going to live forever because they're purposeful, they're moving, they're still like in the wild, you know?
Yeah.
And here we kind of box people back in. Like, you're old, you can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Get in the retirement
mom.
And then when you get in the retirement home, then you start having bad habits, and it just grows from there.
They've done studies on retirement too. Have you seen those?
No.
Where you someone retires and their brain ages much quicker.
Is that true?
Yeah, we'll link it in the video. It's fascinating. But basically, you age way quicker when you retire.
So my friend's grandfather, he was telling me that the grandfather was like full of life, everything, working his job. The second he retired, he had nothing to do. He didn't know what to do. He was just like cleaning the house or whatever. And yeah, he said the same thing.
It'll take years, man, off your life. So basically, if you know someone retiring, tell them to find another purpose or hobby after.
But a lot of people that I've interviewed who are entrepreneurs and love what they do never want to retire. Like I've interviewed Larry Silverstein.
Yeah.
He owns the World Trade Center, the billionaire, and he's 93. Like he's working, you know, he's in the office every day. He's working, and he's like, I'm never going to retire. I'm like, okay, we get it. Like, you proved it. Good job. But he's 93. He's still working, putting the suit on. And I mean, there's no question why he's 93 and doing that, as opposed to another 93-year-old, if they even made it there.
Yeah.
He's purposeful in his job and he doesn't want to leave it. And I've spoken to a lot of entrepreneurs who never want to retire. But people who hate their job are good to retire, you know, 65, get the pension, like it's all good. But then when you hit 65, what do you do? You have probably 2-3 years where like life is good and you enjoy and you travel. And then what? What do you do? And I think that's what you're talking about, the study that came in there.
Yeah. I would get so bored if I ever just stopped working, I think.
Yeah, but you love what you do.
I love it. Yeah.
That's everything. I love what I do. I could do this forever. And like we also kind of built businesses where we technically could, you know, as long as your mouth moves and and all that, like your brain's working, then it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. I love what we do, man. Having conversations. That's what it is. Basically, it boils down to that.
Yeah. And the world craves that, which is why podcasts are doing well. I think COVID was really a big change where everyone was like, no, I'm pretty lonely actually. I got no one to call. I got no one to see. I don't have that many friends. And then they started thinking, okay, well, now I'm listening to people on social media, having these conversations. I relate to these people. I like what they're saying. I think that's why podcasts have done super well the last couple of years. That's probably why what I've done, the street interviews have done well, because people are like, I just want to learn and feel heard and be seen. When they see somebody random on the street, that's like, I'm speaking to them and they feel good about that.
Yeah, it was interesting to see how people reacted during COVID because I was lonely a majority of my life. So for me, it didn't impact me that much, but a lot of people went crazy. It was wild.
Yeah, it was a good and bad time though. Good because a lot of people rethought their life and they finally had time to do stuff like journal and meditate and think about it. Bad because of people who hated their lives, like it was really, really in focus.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't handle LA personally during COVID. That's why I moved to Vegas. Where you were at in Canada was even worse, right?
Yeah, we had a curfew.
Yeah, you guys had strict lockdowns in Canada.
8 p.m. curfew.
I just had a comedian on from Canada. He said he couldn't even do any work for like 2 years.
That makes a lot.
Like they banned all the shows and the clubs and everything.
Yeah. I was living in Singapore when COVID started. So like, it hit the US in March, but it started, or February, I forget, but it started in Asia in January. And they handled it really well. But I was on exchange at that time. I was still in university. And my school was like, if you don't come home, they said this in March, if you don't come home this week, we're canceling your exchange and you forfeit the semester. And I was like, nah, man, I got to get out of school. Like, I can't forfeit this semester. So I came home, and I think in Asia it was strict as well, but like the life is better. People were more open. They could travel. They could move around.
Yeah.
In Canada, we couldn't do anything. And people were really, really angry. If I went to a different province, like I would get a lot of shit on my bills just from going to a different province. Like,
yeah, that must have been
a different state. Yeah, but that's actually, I feel like I would have figured out my content strategy a lot faster if I didn't have COVID in my way, because I couldn't make like 90% of the stuff.
Right.
Like imagine doing the street interviews, but so like social distance or something. I should be like, all right, I'll do, you know?
In the casinos here, people were wearing masks and gambling next to each other. It was wild times looking back on it. They're going to write about that in the history books.
For sure.
Yeah. It's going to be like we'll see.
A time we hope doesn't happen again.
A learning experience for the next generation.
Yeah.
When you were in Japan, did you go to the Blue Zone?
I did.
That's cool. I've always wanted to go to one.
I've been to only one, actually. There's one in California,
I heard.
but I was going to go. And then everyone said it's in an area in California with the worst air quality in the whole state. It's next to San Bernardino. This is like Loma Linda. So Loma Linda, San Bernardino, they're right next to each other. And apparently San Bernardino is like super dangerous. Really? Super dangerous place to go.
Wow.
I have a friend who's a sheriff there. And he's like, yeah,
It's that bad?
Yeah.
And that's where the Blue Zone is?
right next to it. Yeah.
Wow.
like a 10,
That's actually
10-minute drive.
crazy.
And at the time I was on the beach in Newport Beach, and I'm like, am I gonna go there for a few days to film when I'm on the beach? I'm like, I don't know. We'll find the old people somewhere else.
Yeah, wait it out a little bit.
But I went to the one in Japan, and again, like, you want to talk boxes and like things we've been marketed and stuff, and not to give shit to the Blue Zones, because I work with them and I really like the Blue Zones.
Mm-hmm.
But I get there and everyone is like, all the concepts, the themes, everything they came up with, they don't abide by that in Japan. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, have you heard of Ikigai?
Yeah.
Ikigai is like a big thing for the Blue Zones, and Ikigai is also a book that's a bestseller.
Mm-hmm.
But the book was written by 2 Spanish guys, I think, and
Wow.
the Blue Zones is American. In Japan, an Ikigai is like, it's nothing. Like, Ikigai is basically means like a reason to be, a reason to live,
Mm-hmm.
having a purpose. And in Japan, your Ikigai could be gardening. Like, that, my Ikigai is gardening.
Mm.
My Ikigai is shopping. Like, and it is what it is. It's not a big thing. So I learned when I went there that, like, we've kind of played out all of these different terms, and they aren't really what they say they are. But I mean,
Yeah.
you know, people are there, people are old, but people are kind of everywhere and old and living. I didn't feel it was too different.
That's how I feel about any time the media portrays any country. I'm like, okay, they're saying this message, but what's actually going on?
My best friend spent 5 weeks in China because he does manufacturing stuff.
Yeah.
Said it was some of the friendliest people he's ever met. One of the safest places he's ever been to. One of the most enjoyable countries he's ever traveled to. And if you hear about China here, all negative.
All negative. It got to the point where, like, I'm half Chinese. It's like, I don't even trust China. But then I had to take a step back and realize, let me actually go there and talk to people and see what they say about us.
I'm sure there's truth to it. Like, I don't think it's fully made up, but at the same time,
I think it's exaggerated.
I went to Vietnam, and you know the Vietnam War, obviously. When I went to Vietnam, I went to the museum of the war, but I went to the American War Museum. Because in Vietnam, it's the American War. And that was like this was 5 years ago that I had this experience, and that blew my mind.
Really?
I was like, interesting. So it's the Vietnam War in America, but it's the American War.
And how did they portray it in that museum?
They showed things I've never seen before. Like I don't remember exactly what they dropped, but a lot of bombs with this poisonous chemicals in it that created like decades or generations of deformities.
Damn.
In future Vietnamese people.
Holy crap. They don't talk about that here.
Well, not because they did it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, I don't.
We did this bad thing, and
I don't ever get taught that in history class.
No.
Damn.
So all of these things it's all relative, which has been an interesting thing.
Yeah. Well, when you read history books, it's taught from the winning side.
Always.
So
the center of the world, like the way you and me see the globe, like if you look at the world as like a flat sheet, and where the U.S. is positioned, but if you go to Japan and you look at the globe and where Japan is positioned, it's also in the middle.
Holy crap.
They're all in the middle.
That's
Europe,
crazy.
it's in the middle. They're all in the middle.
So I wonder where the middle actually is. That's mind blowing, right?
There isn't. I mean, well, is there?
I mean, if you go from space, like, I guess it depends what angle you're looking at it.
I guess.
Yeah.
But like just from, it's a position of power. We're the center of the universe. But the center of the universe is different for every country.
Crazy stuff. I wish I thought this way when I was in history class growing up. You
would have done terribly in school.
Yeah, I would have failed every test.
You would have
kicked me.
Guys. You would. Where's the center of the world? Well, it's all relative.
They would have kicked my ass out of there quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, quickly. Wow, William, it's been awesome. I know you got a journal here. What else you want to close off with here, man?
I would say closing thought for anybody who's feeling lost in life or just thinking about how to get to the next level. For me, you got to figure out who you are, what you want, and how to get what you want. Just to self-plug my journal here, but we've made this journal. This journal has over 1,250 interviewees, their best life advice, their strategies for living a fulfilling life. I think that if you're going through something in life, you just need a path. And I wanted to make something that allowed people to have that path. Yeah. So best thing to do, who am I? What do I want? How do you get what you want? And this is stuff that we put in our journal. If anyone wants to watch the content, it's Sprouhht, Sprouht, on all platforms.
I love it. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.